Hello and welcome to the video. This is the final main video in the series that I have been doing for quite a little while. I need to say a massive thank you to an Ardupilot developer and expert helicopter pilot, a gentleman called Matt. Matt has been spectacular in sparing his time and expertise to teach me all this stuff. I've only been a handful of steps in front of you as I've made these videos, and I've kind of got to the end with an OMP Hobby M4 helicopter running on Ardupilot, and this video is all about tuning. Now this is going to be a visual aid. This is a Goose Sky S1 little helicopter, but it's far easier for me to kind of use this and show you some of the things I'm talking about before we get too far into the weeds. The documentation for helicopter is much better than it's ever been, but it is very fully featured. Because there are so many different types of helicopter, with swash setup, tail setup, governor ESC setup, nitro, petrol, electric, all kinds of different things, governors and not. There's a lot of caveats, and picking my path through all that documentation has been made an awful lot easier by Matt, so hopefully these videos in this series have helped you too. So let's talk about a few of the caveats before we get into the process. Of course, this one is all about tuning. You've already figured that out because that was the title. So this video is designed to be used in conjunction with the rest of the series. There is a specific set of steps with all of the tips and tricks and the professional tips and the hints and cool advice from Matt. So if you are coming to this and you've built the helicopter yourself, I would strongly recommend just go back and watch that stuff. A lot of the stuff that we're covering in the documentation is specific for the M4 OMP Hobby helicopter that I'm using for this build. And a couple of the things that we're about to talk about in this tuning video is specific to the helicopter size as well. You kind of expect that because smaller helicopters are going to be much more agile and flippy and responsive than some of the bigger ones. As always, whenever you're doing stuff with helicopters, particularly when you're doing your maidening and your testing, but also things like the Autotune process, make sure you have access to a large open area where there aren't lots of things around that you can fly into. You're far away from people, pets and property. So if something does go wrong, then it's not going to be hovering 2 feet away from your head. When these things let go and do something unexpected, they are spectacularly dangerous. Probably one of the most dangerous radio-controlled helicopters. Blades on larger helis are moving at an incredible speed, and sometimes they're doing that at head height only meters away. And if something lets go, then bits of it are going to come flying in your direction. Last caveat before we get into the process is make sure that the helicopter is set up as per the series so far. That it can hover with no oscillation, that you've done things like the notch filtering, you've trimmed it so it doesn't drift. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. You'll find that most helicopters will drift particularly to the side because of the thrust for the tail rotor. We'll talk about that. Just make sure that all those pieces are done so that you have a very stable model that you can start from to do some tuning. Last thing, which is a little bit weird, is that the pitch and roll P&D gains can be dropped to 0 in Ardupilot on a helicopter, and that's actually a really good place to start if you're going to do it. I know for most of us, talking about reducing the gains for P&D on pitch and roll, don't do it for your, but pitch and roll, sound like an incredibly wacky thing to do. In Ardu Heli or Ardupilot on a helicopter, it's perfectly fine. So you need to be able to have it so it can hover. It's pretty stable. It's not drifting around forward, backward, left or right. And you can kind of drop those P&D gains down to 0 or as low as it'll let you in Mission Planner, and that it still will fly fine. So there are a couple of things that you need to make sure you're doing. I would make sure you're running Ardupilot 4.6.2 or later. The tuning process has been updated dramatically in the last couple of releases, so you need to make sure that you're on those versions. The new version of Autotune is a little bit unusual compared to some of the other ones that you may have come across already, in that it isn't a single kind of flight process. You need to kind of creep up on it over 6 separate flights. And that's done in a very deliberate way because it uses a very safe way of doing the tune for each of the elements, and you kind of do an element or two with each flight. So the idea with this is you start off with a helicopter that can hover safely, and then what you do is you configure the basics for the auto tune, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and then you set up the configuration for that particular flight. You're going to fly it, it's going to tune that particular bit, and then when that's finished, you're going to land, you're going to put a fresh battery on it, and then you're going to take off again. You're going to do this in the calmest day possible to avoid any kind of wind interfering with the process. You do also, I would recommend, have some kind of connection to a ground station. You can use things like Yahoo on a radio, but to be honest, there are so many messages that are going to come in from the helicopter as it's going through the process that having a ground station, something like Mission Planner, having it on the messages tab and just watching them scroll through is actually a great way to do it. And I will be doing that when the weather in this northern hemisphere gets a little bit nicer and I have a calm day. I will start this process. Last tip about that is that you don't have to do these 6 flights all on one day. You can kind of just go out the field with a couple of batteries, do a couple of steps, kind of save it all, have it done, and then next time come back, just make sure that you don't lose your place in the process. So here is what we're going to talk about over the next few slides. And again, the default place to go to read all about this is the wiki. And again, Matt was fantastically helpful in helping me figure out how this all worked. We're going to start here with a wobble-free hover and a hover with 0 rate P and D. Again, roll and pitch only. If you can do those kind of 2 things, that's going to be a great place to start. We're going to configure Autotune, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. There isn't a lot of settings that you're going to have to change, but there are a couple. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have 6 individual flights. They're going to specifically focus on specific things. Flight 1 is all going to be about feed forward. Flight 2 is going to tune the P and D for pitch. Flight 3 is going to tune the P and D for roll. Flight 4 is going to do the pitch and roll angles. Flights 5 and 6 are going to the rate and angle respectively for your pieces. Each of these flights is treated as a separate thing, and after each flight you're going to land. In Autotune, you're going to disarm, and those settings are saved. And after the end of the 6 flights, you're going to have finished the process. So that's the overall process, and actually laid out like that, to me, anyway, as a visual learner, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. So let's talk about what you need to do to get the Autotune configured in the first place. So the way to get rid of any drift that you may have on the helicopter, because obviously make sure that things like your flight controller are securely fastened, everything on the helicopter is set up properly, the swash is leveled properly, there's no loose fasteners or screws. It should hover and have a drift of less than 1 meter a second. Now, 1 meter a second is actually quite a lot, in my humble opinion. You would fix the drift it's going to have to one side using something called ATC hover roll trim. Now, the whole point of that is normally with a helicopter, let me switch it around so you can see it, the tail's job is to counteract the torque coming from the main blade. So the helicopter's tail is actually trying to stop it rotating in the opposite direction to the blades. Okay, we all understand that. However, of course, it's actually directing a stream of air to the side in order to do that, which means that it pushes the helicopter in that direction. So what you need to do, and this is something you do in a manual helicopter, of course, is what you do is if it's pushing it in that direction, is you very gently trim the helicopter so that it has a slight angle offset. And that means that even though the tail is pushing the helicopter in that direction, it's canted over and it will actually stay in place. You need to use the ATC hover roll trim parameter to fix that. Again, see the documentation for how you do that. I may make a quick tip. The other one is then AHRS trim Y. If it is going backwards or forwards, then use that so that it hovers pretty solidly and that it's, you know, you take your hands off the sticks in something like altitude hold and it's going to be below 1 meter a second drift. It's not particularly tricky to do, but you need to do that before we start. So what we're going to do is we're going to set Autotune frequency max to 100. This is a higher stop frequency because the M4 helicopter is a little bit smaller. We also need to set Autotune GN max to 1.0. That is different from what's in the wiki. The wiki talks about being 1.8. Because we're talking about a smaller helicopter with the OMP Hobby M4, 1.0 is a more appropriate value for that particular size. We also need to set another 2 parameters for both roll and pitch as 3. again, just see what's by the side here, and then set up Autotune on a mode switch, just like you would with any other mode. I would probably set that up as a separate switch on something like one of the user params. Also make sure that you have Alt Hold selected as one of the other modes, because that's where we're going to start from. Last thing is to make sure that you can see messages from the craft on something like a ground station. That's the way to track what's going on, as some of the steps, that 6-step process that we just looked at, will happen relatively quickly within kind of 30-40 seconds. Some of them can take several minutes, and you just need to sit and let the helicopter go through everything, because sometimes it looks like nothing's happening, but actually you'll see on the messages that it's still working very hard. So for the first flight, what we're going to do is just follow the wiki stuff, and we're going to set Autotune axis to 3. That's going to be pitch and roll. And we're going to set the Autotune sequence to 1, which is going to do the feed forward part. Don't forget, I would recommend follow the wiki for all the details about this. But once you've got those couple of things set up, you're ready for the first flight. So how do you do the actual tuning flight itself? Well, it's pretty straightforward. What you're going to do is you're going to arm the model, remove the motor interlock, take off as normal, put it into altitude hold. I would probably go 20-30 meters, reasonably close, so that I can keep an eye on things. I'm going to activate Autotune, and it's going to start to do it. Now, the way the new Autotune works is incredibly safe. And what it'll initially do is kind of work out where the oscillations will start and kind of work backwards in kind of frequencies from that and go through the process. And it'll take a little bit of time, again, watching all the messages. You're going to wait for a success message, at which point it'll be kind of just hovering still there. And then once you're that, just make sure, I would kind of move it around backwards and forwards. Just make sure it feels okay. If it feels okay, while Autotune is still on, bring it back in, land with Autotune still enabled, disarm with Autotune still enabled, and that is going to save all of those new parameters, and you have done the first step. If you are going through this process and you find that when it finishes the tune, and this shouldn't happen, but just cover it for safety. If it's at any point during this, it starts to wander away too far from you, don't worry about it. You can just bring it back in on the sticks. It'll pause the routine. Once you let go of the sticks again, it'll continue the tuning process for this particular step. Also, when it's finished, if you don't like the way it feels, then if you come out of Autotune before you land and disarm, those new values will not be saved. So there's a couple of ways that you can kind of cancel the process if you're not happy about it. But as soon as it starts wandering too far away from you, you can just fly it back, keep an eye on it. But those messages are the real indicator that something is happening. And something's finished, hopefully. So we've talked about flight 1 that's going to do feed forward. Once you've landed, then you're going to connect back up to the helicopter. You're going to change to Autotune axis to 2, and you're going to change the Autotune sequence to 2, and you're basically going to work your way through each of these settings. Complete each flight using the settings above. Again, the stuff in the wiki says Autotune GM Max needs set as 1.8. That's for much larger helicopters. 1.0 is a better starting point for the smaller helicopter of this size. And go through each of them, setting it as you go, and eventually when you get to the end, your helicopter will be tuned. Couple of pro tips. Again, the wiki is the gold standard for all this stuff. Hopefully once you've seen this video, reading the wiki will make a lot more sense. Once Matt had explained this to me, I actually went back and read the wiki, and it kind of fitted within that little diagram that I've done. Don't forget that you have to have it so that you can sit in Alt Hold with those P&D gains set as we've talked about, and also that things like the trims are done so that it's not zooming off in any direction. It needs to be done on a really calm day, because the wind pushing the model around is going to affect and compromise the tune to a level. Don't forget that if things aren't going smoothly, you can cancel out of it all the time. Have that in your mind, so if something happens that you don't like, you can bail out. It shouldn't. The new process, as of recent Ardupilot, is significantly better than the old style stuff that used to work. There's no chance of it getting into a violent oscillation and crashing, which is great. And that's why it's broken down into these 6 individual steps to make sure that you can go through without getting into trouble. And don't forget, if you're not sure about anything or you want to kind of understand in more detail, then go and check out the wiki. It has an awful lot more detail for different size helicopters, and there's lots of the caveats in there which initially make it quite complicated to read, but now you know how the process works. Hopefully that'll make more sense. So there you have it. That's the overview. That is what I am going to do when spring happens here in the Northern Hemisphere and I can get the M4 out to the field. But I wanted to make this in a timely manner because a few of you have asked about it, and the Southern Hemisphere at the moment is obviously enjoying a nice summertime, so you guys can absolutely do it. Massive thank you again to Matt and the Ardupilot developers for all the work that they provide and the help that they provide to us as a community and letting us access this amazing technology for free. But a very special thanks to Matt for helping through this entire process and kind of holding my hand and making sure that I got through the whole thing without my helicopter crashing and without any disasters. Thank you for watching my video. Check out the playlist, and adding Painless 360 to your search terms will help you find my content. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. You can support the time I spend here answering questions and helping others by using the links in the video description.